He was obsessed. No, he wasn't obsessed. He was fond of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. He was fond of it. All of us were. You know what? All of us were fond of it. It was a good show. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. It was quirky. It was good. The creators, they were talented. And then they got funding. And they made a bigger TV show with funding. I was watching the new TV show with him. And there was this character, a novelist. The novelist was depressed because no one wanted to buy his manuscript. No one wanted to read his novel. And he was destitute, He was a starving artist. It was an episode about careers. And the yellow guy was working at the factory. And the red guy was the boss. And the duck. Anyway, that character, the minor character, the novelist, yeah, it was hilarious. But let's just say it hit a little too close to home. I was not laughing. But he was laughing. And he was high or drunk or something. He didn't really notice my reaction. Why would he notice? He's never read my novel either. He doesn't like reading. He likes cartoons. And he likes puppets. And he likes The Matrix. And I got what they were saying. Of course I did. They used to be the novelists. They were starving artists. But then they hit it big because Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared went viral. And you could do it too. Just believe in yourself. And someone will totally buy your novel. And you'll be the next Stephanie Meyer, That's when I checked out. I wasn't really paying attention anymore. I was sulking. But he didn't notice. Of course he didn't notice. He was partying. He's never been perceptive. We were watching The Matrix again. And there's this scene where Neo is talking to one of the old men. And the old man is giving Neo bad advice. And there's ominous red lighting in the background. And I was like, oh, yeah, I get it. He's the bad guy. And Barty turned to me and he said, what? And I said, obviously, he's the bad guy. Would you look at him? Would you look at the red background? It might as well be a giant sign pointing at him saying, bad guy. He's obviously Emperor Palpatine himself. And he's telling Neo to be a good boy. And Neo thinks he's having a wholesome conversation with this wise old man. But he's not a wise old man. He's Emperor Palpatine. And Barty said, whoa, I thought he was just a nice old man. It never even occurred to me that he was secretly evil. I guess different people watching the same movie really do have different interpretations. And I said, it's clear to me you've never taken a cinema studies class. Sure, he's a kind old man, and the red lighting behind him means nothing. Actually, you know what? Red is a wholesome color. Everyone knows. Red, the good guys, the Sith Lords, they're always red. Yeah, the demons, the angels, they're red. Of course they are, because they're angels. That's why they're red. He had a posh name, Bartimaeus II. We called him Barty. We were going to call him Bartimaeus II. Some of his uncles called him Junior, but we weren't going to call him Junior. We called him Barty. And he had a reputation. He was he was one of those kids in the gifted and talented program. And he could play the piano, and he was totally a protege. He took an IQ test, and he was rich. He was a rich kid. He was just like the Tusk, And we pretended, yeah, kid, you're a genius. You're just like Artemis Fowl. You're like Anthony Stark, and you're just like the Tusk. You're as smart as I am short, He was just a rich kid. And he was good at the piano. I'll give him that. He was talented. He was good at the piano. And that stupid name that they gave him, Bartimaeus. His father had the same name. So he was Bartimaeus II. Actually, I think his grandfather also had the same name. Or something similar. We just called him Barty. Later, we called him Artie. Because he was obsessed with those Artemis Fowl books. And then we started calling him Owen. Hey, you're just like Owen Culfer, aren't you? Owen, you're Mobius, He was a nerd. And he was obsessed with those Thor comic books. And then, we were teasing him. But he liked it. We started calling him Loki. Hey, you are as handsome as Tom Hiddleston, You look just like him. Why don't you dye your hair? Hey, did you ever see that other movie he was in? It was about ghosts. Because Tom Hiddleston, the guy that played Loki, he was in this Victorian drama, gothic horror. And he and his sister were rich, but they were old money. And their fancy, posh mansion was falling apart. They didn't have any money. They were aristocrats. They were totally aristocrats. And they were posh. They were purebloods, but they didn't have any money. So they were scamming a bunch of American women, new money. He would get married to a rich lady, and then he would take all her money. And then he and his sister, what was the name of the movie, Anyway, we showed him that movie, and he had nightmares. We were just teasing him. Of course we were teasing him. He was rich. We were his babysitters. We were basically the same age as him. He was 13 at the time. I was 16. Or maybe I was 15. Who knows? We were best friends. Except no, we weren't. We were his babysitters. And he was living in that beach house. The beach house. He really liked that TV show, Family Matters. He was obsessed with Urkel. And then, let's just say, we got a bunch of cardboard boxes. And we totally built a spaceship. And then we built that machine that Steve Urkel builds in Family Matters. Steve Urkel. Steve, hey, it's Steve. It's Urkel. He had the glasses and the suspenders. I love the actor. The actor, he's a genius. But the character, well, he was a really good actor. And there was a special episode where he builds this machine, and he gets in the machine, and when he comes out of the machine, he takes his glasses off, and he's all, I'm Stefan. Steve Urkel? Nah, I'm Stefan. White. And he gets a whole makeover, and that actor is so handsome. After that episode, I was obsessed with him too, but I only liked the episodes where Stefan was hanging around. I loved Stefan. I was all, should I change my name to Stefan? I love him. He's so handsome. And Barty, he wanted to be Steve. We were all, yeah, you're totally Steve Rogers, and you're also Steve Urkel, huh? So he changed his name to Steve. He didn't want to be Bartimaeus. He wanted to be Steve. And I was all, you know what? I'm Andy. Don't I look just like Uncle Andy? I'm Andy. And you're Steve. Why would you want to be Bartimaeus? It's a lame name. Yeah, it's posh. Uh-huh. No one wants to call you Bartimaeus. All your uncles and aunts, they're calling you Junior. And we're calling you Barty. You don't want to be Barty, and you don't want to be Artemis. Why would you want to be Artemis? You're better than him. You're Steve. And I am Andy. From now on, henceforth, my new name is Andy. Don't I look just like Andy? You know, from Toy Story. I'm Andy from Toy Story. And you are Buzz Lightyear, huh? You want to be a real boy? Let's watch that Buzz Lightyear animated film, huh? I'm a good babysitter. And I get it. We're staying away from the horror movies from now on. Sorry about that, kid. From now on, we're just going to watch cartoons. Let's watch the Buzz Lightyear movie. You can be Buzz Lightyear. I'll be Andy. I was his babysitter. And he was really fond of me. I was older than him. What's that other show he was obsessed with? Gravity Falls. I was basically the teenager working at the store. And he was the 13-year-old coming into the store. And I was all, listen, kid, you're too young for me. I get it. You're taller than me. But just because you're taller than me, I'm older than you, huh? I'm older than you. You know what? Let's watch another cartoon. Your new name is Steven Universe. And my new name is Lars Barriga. Just because I'm shorter than you? Fine. I'll be Sadie. Don't I look just like Sadie? Sadie and the Suspects. Come on now, don't be shy. Me, myself, and I, and Lars. We're all the same guy. Sadie and the Suspects. Come on now, don't be shy. Me, myself, and I, and Lars. You know what? This is a fusion. I danced with Lars, and I liked it. And now we are a fusion. Sadie and Lars. Our new name is Ladies. Our new name is SARS. SARS. Sure. I'm Sozy SARS. Don't I look just like Sissy? I'm Dave. And I'm also Lars. And I'm also Smoky Quartz while we're at it, huh? You can be Rainbow Quartz. I was babysitting him. What else was I gonna do? He was obsessed with superheroes. You know what, kid? Let's watch Invincible. And then let's watch Rick and Morty again. We're gonna watch Rick and Morty again? Really? Fine. You can be Rick Sanchez because you're taller than me. I'll be Morty. And now you want to rewatch The Matrix again? Again? Fine. Let's watch The Matrix. And let's also, sorry, pardon my accent, my liege. Why are you such a spoiled little kid, huh? Why are you so spoiled? Be a good boy, King David. Bartimaeus. It was the anime club. All of us were obsessed with anime, but we were also obsessed with Rick and Morty, Avatar: The Last Airbender. And that doesn't matter. We were a bunch of nerds, and we would go to the anime convention together. Of course we would. What else were we going to do? We were college students. At the time, I was a freshman. I was almost 19, but not quite yet. I was still 18. And, you know, when I first got to the college campus, there was this whole freshman orientation. There was a pool party. I think I only saw the pool one time, and it was during the freshman orientation. After that, I never saw the pool again. I guess it was at a part of campus that was farther away, because I spent most of my time in the liberal arts building. It was the building that housed the theater department and the stage. It was also the building that had all of the literature classes, all of the creative writing classes, the history classes, the liberal arts classes. And right next to that building, there was the social sciences, anthropology, sociology, psychology. We were on the other side of campus. The fancy pool, the gymnasium, the rock climbing, that was on the other side of campus. With the money. It was obvious to us that all the money was going towards STEM. All the money. There was a new campus in Harlingen dedicated to doctors. And all the Brownsville and Edinburgh students, we got the hand-me-downs. We got the old buildings and the old desks and the old technology. But the brand new building, that one is dedicated to the engineering department. And that new campus in Harlingen, that one's dedicated to the medical field, the nurses and the doctors. We didn't really blame them. Who wants to spend money on the literature department? Nobody. Who wants to spend money on the theater arts department? Nobody. We were not surprised, but we were aware of it. We knew. And then there was also the psychology club. They weren't really getting funding either. Psychology? No one cares about psychology. That's not the kind of science this school is interested in funding. What, next you'll be telling yourself you're Indiana Jones and you're going to go into the archaeology department? There is no archaeology department. We're lucky that we even have an anthropology class. My favorite class was sociology of gender. I was a sophomore surrounded by juniors. And all the other students in the class were psychology majors who had plans to be professional therapists. As for me, I was an English major. I just wanted to take gender studies as my minor. But that's not the point. It was 10 years ago. I spent a lot of time at anime conventions. This was 2015. and everyone was obsessed with the Back to the Future movies. It was the anniversary of the fake date that Doc Brown and Marty McFly had gone to when they went to the future. I was also a college student, and a bunch of my classmates were cosplaying as Marty McFly or Doc Brown because it was 2015, and all the nerds were really happy that we finally got into the future. Obviously, we didn't have any hoverboards, but so what? We had a lot of skateboards. And there were these two guys. This was 10 years ago, before Brian Thompson died. 10 years ago. And one of my buddies, his nickname was Luigi. His real name wasn't Luigi, obviously. It was a nickname. And his boyfriend, his best friend, his nickname was Mario. He was shorter, so he was Mario. And his buddy, he was Luigi. I'm telling a story, huh? Let's call it fiction. Don't believe a word I say. I am just telling a story, and it's pure fiction. Doc Brown and Marty McFly were best friends. Of course they were best friends. They met at the science fair, and they had a passion for science. Chemistry. They were chemists. The both of them, they really enjoyed chemistry. You know, potions. And they were best friends. Doc Brown was an old man, rolled. He was one of those men that had white hair by the time he was 39. He was 39, but he had white hair. And Marty, he was a short guy. Doesn't matter how tall he was short. Let's pretend he was 5'1". It doesn't matter how tall he was short. People mistook him for younger than he was. And Doc Brown, he was 39, but he had white hair. Not salt and pepper. He looked like the actor from Cheaper by the Dozen, the actor from Father of the Bride, the actor from the Pink Panther movies. And his name was totally Doc Brown. They would hang out, go to a restaurant together. And people assumed that they were looking at a father and son. Sometimes they thought they were looking at a grandpa and his grandson. Marty went with it. Yeah, this is my Grandpa Brown, Doc Brown, Frederick. And Brown, he was like, yeah, this kid is my grandson. His name is Marty. His name is Barty Jr., Artie. And he's my grandson, They were best friends. And they had a lot of chemistry. Yes, there was an age gap. Marty was 29. So what? He was not a teenager. Sometimes people mistook him for a teenager, but he wasn't a teenager. And they were best friends. And they were totally father and son. They had a lot of chemistry. They had a lot of science projects. And Doc Brown was obsessed with cars. Obsessed. He was a truck driver. And he also had an old school bus that he had converted into a mobile home, an RV. Except it wasn't an RV, it was a school bus, a yellow school bus. But they painted it. It was mostly yellow, but they painted it. And they turned it into the mystery van, you know? The both of them, they really enjoyed cartoons like Scooby-Doo. So they tried to make the school bus look like the van in Scooby-Doo. Except it was bigger. And they were living in the bus. They were hippies. And Artie, he was a sparrow. He was totally a phoenix and a fowl and a magpie and a raven. He was Robin. And Doc Brown was Batman, A knockoff Batman, but he was tall enough for the costume. The both of them, they were nerds. They were comic book nerds. So Doc would often dress up like Batman, and Artie would dress up like Robin. And they were best friends, and totally grandfather and grandson. And they were also gardeners. They were gardeners. They were gardening. 420. And they were bakers, too. They were just like Lars Barriga and Peta. What the frick was Peta's surname? You know, Peta. They were bakers, and they specialized in brownies. And you know what? They were totally, they wanted to start a candy shop. They were just like Willy Wonka and Charlie. And so they started making gummy bears. And they had a small business. And a school bus. And they also had a raspa stand. Raspado. How do they say it in California, Icy. Yeah, Slurpee. They were making Slurpees. They had one of those snow cone machines. Have you ever been to California? You go to one of those bars, and they'll get you an Icy. They'll get you a Slurpee ice cone. But, you know, inside the ice cone, there's vodka. That's the kind of ice cone they were making. And it was lucrative. They liked playing dress up. So Marty got some glasses that looked just like Velma's glasses from the cartoon. And he was all, I'm Velma. Would you look at me? I'm obviously Velma. Look at my glasses. And Doc was Fred. He dyed his hair blonde, and he was all, he got the orange ascot. And yeah, the hair dye didn't really want to stick to his hair because he was a silver fox. But, you know, they would try their best and make his hair look blonde. And Marty, Artie, Barty, he was all, I'm Velma. Don't I look like Velma? And he got a padded sports bra. And he was all, I'm Velma. He was brunette. So he looked just like Velma. And he got the orange turtleneck and the red mini skirt. He was Velma because he was short. And Doc was Fred because he was blonde. Sort of. And they really enjoyed the anime conventions. A lot of their customers enjoyed the costumes, all right? Their customers were grown-ups. But they were Disney adults. They were nerds. The majority of their customers were nerds. And Barty Jr., and his Batman, Doc Brown, they were also nerds. So they enjoyed the costumes. Sometimes Doc would wear a white lab coat, and Barty would wear, that puffy vest, and they would be all, hey, it's 2015, whoa, hoverboards. They were really good at dressing up as Doc Brown and Marty McFly, but his real name was Art. And his best friend and grandpa, his name was totally Frederick Sanchez, because he looked just like Sanchez. But obviously they were just cosplaying. And sometimes Barty would wear the yellow t-shirt and jeans. And Brown, he would wear a blue long-sleeved shirt with his lab coat. And then they would get hair gel, and they would spike up his hair. He already had white hair, naturally. But he wasn't as old as the actor that played Doc Brown. And he was really handsome. Almost as handsome as the actor from the Pink Panther movies. Not quite as handsome as him, but almost. Handsome enough that all the people at the anime convention were always happy to see them. And then sometimes they would do Batman and Robin. Sometimes they did Batman and Superman's son. Sometimes they did The Vision and one of the twin kids. They did a lot of costumes. Sometimes they were Fred and Shaggy. And sometimes they were doing Umbrella Academy. So Doc Brown would dress up like Klaus Hargreaves. He would dye his hair brown and grow it long. And Barty would wear the Umbrella Academy uniform and pretend that he was number 5. Hey, it's number 4 and number 5. Obviously, they weren't as good looking as the actors from the TV show, but they were good looking enough that the people at the anime convention were tickled by the costume. Sometimes they did Steven Universe. Hey, he's Lars Barriga because he's tall, and he dyed his hair cotton candy pink. And Barty is obviously Steven Universe. Look at him. He's Steven. And his best friend, his grandpa, his father, his boyfriend is Lars Barriga. Would you look at them? He's obviously Lars Barriga, and he's Steven Universe, and they're boyfriends. Be nice to them, huh? Let them be boyfriends. This is an alternate universe. And in the alternate universe, Lars Barriga is in love with Steven Universe. Because this is an alternate universe, huh? Would you just let them wear their costumes, huh? But sometimes Barty would dye his hair blonde. And he would wear, he would try to pad his sports bra. And he'd be all, I'm Sadie Miller from Sadie and the Suspects. Would you look at me? I'm obviously Sadie Miller. And my boyfriend is Lars Barriga. He's got the cotton candy pink hair. Can't he be Lars Barriga and I'll be Sadie Miller? And he's my boyfriend. And then they started doing the songs. I wanna be disobedient. How are you, sir? Nice to meet you. Anything for you, sir. My friends all say, sir, you don't deserve her. I disagree, sir. Anything for you, sir. I think about all the wasted time I spent. I'm gonna be disobedient. Obviously, he wasn't a good singer. Everyone knew he wasn't a good singer. And everyone knew his voice was a lot deeper than the actress that voiced Sadie Miller. But they didn't care. He was tiny. He was a short king. And he looked good in the costume. So they humored him. Yeah, you're totally Sadie Miller, huh? You look just like Sadie Miller. And your boyfriend looks just like Lars Barriga. Uh-huh. You should totally play them in the live-action adaptation. I'm Sylvie Wordsmith, and I use way too much salt. God damn it. It's not gonna taste bad, but I'm almost out of salt. That's not the point. I was an English major, and it was clear to me that in Texas, the only way to get into the publishing industry is if I were to move to Austin. Austin! Because Austin is the only city in Texas that cares about books. Maybe San Antonio, but I spent 2 years in San Antonio. It was terrible. I'm never going back to San Antonio. As for Austin, I've never lived in Austin, but I lived near Austin, Round Rock. And maybe I'll go back. But for now, I'm near the Rio Grande, huh? I didn't have a choice. And my father, he'll send me, he wants me to be a secretary or a lunch lady at the middle school. The middle school? I spent a semester as a teacher's assistant at the elementary school. I was assisting a 5th grade teacher, 5th graders. And half of the students were taller than me. I'm 4'10" and a half. Half of the students were taller than me. They were 5th graders. And half of them are taller than me. That's when I started to wonder if there was something wrong with me. I was 17. I was a 17-year-old, 4'10" and a half. And I had been the same height since middle school. And half of these 5th graders are taller than me. And now he wants me to be a secretary or a librarian in a middle school. Most of those middle schoolers are taller than me. Plus, would you look at the news? Teachers are practically being arrested just for using nicknames for their kids. Nicknames that the children request. And now that's illegal. No, I don't think I would be a good middle school teacher or a good middle school librarian or a good middle school cafeteria lady. I am not going into middle school. Are you crazy? I'm too gay. They'll accuse me of freaking strip teasing. And then they'll accuse me of spreading the gay agenda. I don't think I would survive the experience. Everyone knows Andy has a temper, huh? I would not last 10 minutes in a middle school. Not only because of the parents of the students, but because of the teachers. I can't stand teachers. And also, kids are all right. There's nothing wrong with kids. I haven't met a lot of kids, but usually I get along fine with kids. There's nothing wrong with the kids. I don't have anything against children. I have something against the parents and the Bible-thumping grown-ups who are always telling me, you can't say that to her. She's only 5 years old. She asked you a question. You're not supposed to answer the question honestly. How am I supposed to answer the question then? This 5-year-old asked me a question, and I answered the question. And then they scold me. She's not old enough to understand, Andy. Sorry? Who gives a toss if she's not old enough to understand? She asked the question, I answered the question. And then she asked me to get on the trampoline with her, and I got on the trampoline with her. She sat on my lap. Am I not supposed to allow her to sit on my lap? There's nothing wrong with children. I get along with children fine. But the grown-ups glare at me as if I'm spreading the gay agenda. Sorry, I didn't mean to answer her question honestly. Is she not allowed to learn science? So no, it's not the children I have a problem with. It's the grown-ups